The year was 2135, and humanity had finally made contact with an alien civilization. After decades of searching the stars and sending out automated probes, the signs of intelligent life had been detected in the Epsilon Eridani system. A massive fleet of sleek alien ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system. Their communications attempts rebuffed as scientists and world leaders scrambled to understand the implications. John Ripley was a career diplomat who had been training his entire life for a moment like this. As the United Nations representative tasked with making first contact, he knew the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. All of humanity was counting on him to forge a peaceful dialogue and begin the process of interstellar cooperation. With a phalanx of security personnel and a cadre of top xenolinguists at his side, Ripley boarded the diplomatic shuttle and set a course for the massive alien mothership hovering ominously in deep space. His palms were sweaty, but his resolve was unshakable. This was his moment to shine. As the shuttle deftly maneuvered through the swarm of alien drones, Ripley steeled himself for the historic encounter. The airlock hissed open and he stepped into the cavernous hangar bay, greeted by a contingent of inscrutable alien figures. They towered over the humans, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming in the artificial light. Ripley swallowed hard, trying to suppress the instinctual fear that crept up his spine. "Greetings," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. "I am John Ripley, representative of the United Nations of Earth. We have come in peace to open a dialogue and establish friendly relations between our peoples." The aliens regarded him in silence for a long, tense moment. Then, to Ripley's shock and horror, one of them let out an ear-splitting screech that sent shivers down his back. The other aliens joined in, their cacophonous cries echoing through the cavernous hangar. Ripley's security detail tensed, hands drifting towards their sidearms, but he waved them off. "What is the meaning of this?" Ripley demanded, struggling to keep the panic out of his voice. "We mean you no harm. We wish only to communicate and find common ground." The aliens fell silent, their beady eyes fixed unblinkingly on the human delegation. Then, to Ripley's astonishment, one of them began to speak in a rasping, guttural tongue. "Puny earthlings," it growled. "Your pathetic attempts at diplomacy amuse us. You dare to think you can negotiate with the mighty Exoluthian Empire?" Ripley blinked, struggling to process the words. "The Exoluthian Empire? Is that what you call yourselves?" "Indeed," the alien rumbled. "And we have come to your insignificant planet to lay claim to your resources and subjugate your species. Resistance is futile." Ripley felt a surge of indignation. "Subjugate us? I think you underestimate the resolve of the human race. We will not surrender without a fight." The alien let out a harsh, barking laugh. "A fight? Foolish earthling, your primitive weapons are no match for our superior technology. Your cities will burn, your armies will be crushed, and your species will be eradicated." Ripley's security detail tensed, fingers tightening on their weapons. "Stand down," he snapped. Turning back to the alien, he forced himself to remain calm. "Perhaps we got off on the wrong foot. Let us start over and find a way to coexist peacefully." The alien snorted in derision. "Peaceful coexistence. You misunderstand our intentions, Earthling. We have come to conquer, not to negotiate. Your time has come to an end." Ripley's face darkened. "Then you leave us no choice. Humanity will defend itself with every fiber of its being. We will not go down without a fight." The alien let out a menacing hiss. "So be it. Your defiance only hastens your demise." It turned and stalked away, the other aliens following in its wake. Ripley watched them go, his heart pounding. This was not at all how he had envisioned first contact going. Somehow, he had to find a way to avert a catastrophic war. The fate of the entire human race hung in the balance. Back on Earth, the news of the alien ultimatum spread like wildfire. Panic gripped the global population as world leaders convened emergency summits to determine a course of action. Some advocated for immediate, overwhelming military retaliation, while others counseled a more measured diplomatic approach. John Ripley found himself at the center of the storm, his every word and action scrutinized by the media and the public. He knew he had to tread carefully, lest his missteps plunge humanity into a war it could not win. As the days turned into weeks, the tension continued to escalate. The alien fleet remained in orbit, their ominous presence a constant reminder of the looming threat. Ripley worked tirelessly, shuttling between Earth and the alien mothership, trying in vain to find common ground and avert the impending conflict. But the aliens, whom the humans had now taken to calling the Exoluthians, remained unyielding in their demands. They insisted that Earth's resources were rightfully theirs, and that the human race would be subjugated or destroyed. Ripley's frustration grew with each failed negotiation. He knew that time was running out, and that the world's leaders were growing increasingly impatient. Something had to give, or else all-out war would be inevitable. As the situation reached a boiling point, Ripley decided to take a bold gamble. He requested a private audience with the Exolothian leader, determined to appeal to their sense of reason one last time. The alien towered over him, its menacing presence filling the small chamber. Ripley steeled his nerves and spoke. "Listen to me, Exoluthian," he said, his voice firm. "We do not seek to fight you, but you leave us no choice. If you continue with your threat of conquest, we will have no choice but to defend our homeworld with every ounce of our strength." The alien let out a low, rumbling chuckle. "Your feeble attempts at deterrence are laughable, Earthling. Our military might is far beyond your comprehension. You have no chance of victory." Ripley felt a surge of frustration. "Perhaps you underestimate the determination of the human spirit. We will not go down without a fight. If you insist on subjugating us, then be prepared to face the full fury of our wrath." The alien's eyes narrowed. Empty threats. "Earthling, your species will be crushed, and your planet will be ours." Ripley took a deep breath, steeling himself for what he was about to say. Then, "So be it. If you refuse to back down, then we have no choice but to respond in kind. We will fight you with every ounce of our strength, and we will not stop until you are defeated." The alien let out a thunderous roar, its claws lashing out towards Ripley. But the human diplomat stood his ground, refusing to be intimidated. "Mark my words, Exoluthian," Ripley said, his voice laced with a newfound determination. "If you persist in your aggression, we will unleash the full fury of human wrath upon you. And when the dust settles, your species will be nothing more than a distant memory." The alien's eyes widened, and for a moment, Ripley thought he saw a flicker of uncertainty in its gaze. But then the moment passed, and the alien's features hardened once more. "So be it, Earthling," it growled. "You have sealed your own fate. Prepare to face the wrath of the Exolothian Empire." With that, the alien turned and stalked out of the chamber, leaving Ripley alone with his thoughts. He knew that he had taken a tremendous risk, but he also knew that he had no choice. The survival of the human race was at stake, and he was determined to do whatever it took to protect it. As he made his way back to Earth, Ripley could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders. He knew that the coming conflict would be unlike anything humanity had ever faced before, and that the stakes could not be higher. But even as the fear and uncertainty threatened to overwhelm him, Ripley felt a renewed sense of purpose. He would not back down, no matter what the Exolothians threw at them. Humanity would stand tall and fight, and they would emerge victorious. Back on Earth, the news of Ripley's confrontation with the Exoluthian leader spread like wildfire. The world's leaders, once divided, now stood united in the face of the alien threat. Military forces were mobilized, defenses were fortified, and the entire planet braced for the inevitable conflict. As the Exolothian fleet continued to loom menacingly in the skies, the human population was gripped by a mixture of terror and determination. They knew that the fate of their species hung in the balance, and they were ready to fight with every fiber of their being. In the days and weeks that followed, the tension continued to escalate. The Exolothians made increasingly aggressive moves, testing the limits of humanity's resolve. But the human race refused to be cowed, meeting each provocation with a show of strength and defiance. Finally, the moment of reckoning arrived. The Exolothian fleet launched a massive assault, raining down destruction on the planet's major cities and military installations. But the human forces were ready, and they fought back with a fury that caught the aliens off guard. The battle raged for days, with both sides inflicting heavy casualties. But as the Exolothians pressed their advantage, the human forces began to turn the tide. Ingenious new weapons and tactics, developed in the heat of the conflict, began to take a toll on the alien invaders. And then, just when all seemed lost, a miracle happened. A small team of human scientists had been working on a revolutionary new technology, and they had managed to develop a weapon that could neutralize the Exolothians' advanced shields and weapon systems. With this new weapon in hand, the human forces launched a decisive counterattack, pushing the Exolothian fleet back and inflicting devastating losses. The aliens, faced with the unexpected resilience and ingenuity of their human foes, began to falter. As the tide of the battle turned, Ripley knew that the moment of truth had arrived. He gathered the world's leaders and issued a bold ultimatum. The Exolothians have refused to back down, and they have left us no choice but to fight. But we will not be content with mere survival. We will crush them, and we will drive them from our world forever. The leaders, once divided, now stood united behind him. They knew that the fate of the human race was at stake, and they were ready to do whatever it took to ensure victory. With the full might of the human race behind them, the forces launched a massive offensive, pouring everything they had into the fight. The Exolothian fleet, battered and demoralized, began to crumble under the onslaught. And then, in a final desperate gambit, the Exolothian leader made one last stand, piloting a massive, heavily armored assault craft. It descended upon the human forces, raining down destruction with its devastating weapons. But the humans were ready. They had anticipated the Exolothians' move, and they had prepared a surprise of their own. As the alien craft approached, a barrage of powerful energy beams lanced out, tearing through its defenses and crippling the vessel. The Exolothian leader, its craft disabled and surrounded by human forces, had no choice but to surrender. With a roar of defeat, it acknowledged the superiority of the human race and agreed to withdraw its forces from the planet. The battle was over, and the human race had emerged victorious. Ripley, standing amidst the cheering crowds, felt a surge of pride and relief. The Exolothians had underestimated the determination and ingenuity of the human race, and they had paid the price. As the world celebrated its hard-won triumph, Ripley knew that the journey ahead would not be an easy one. The scars of the conflict would take time to heal, and the threat of future alien aggression would always loom on the horizon. But for now, the human race had proven its mettle. They had faced down a formidable enemy and emerged victorious, and they knew that they could do it again if they had to. The era of human diplomacy had begun, and it would be a force to be begun. As the world celebrated its hard-won triumph, Ripley knew that the journey ahead would not be an easy one. The scars of the conflict would take time to heal, and the threat of future alien aggression would always loom on the horizon. But for now, the human race had proven its mettle. They had faced down a formidable enemy and emerged victorious, and they knew that they could do it again if they had to. The era of human diplomacy had begun, and it would be a force to be reckoned with. This was only the beginning.